m.A.A.d Network presents Rambles N Records.
All right, mate.
Hello, bud. How
How's
you
it
doing?
going?
All good. All good.
Got a very special episode today.
What are we going to be doing, Bill? Let the people know.
Okay, so just to explain a little bit about The Vault, we're going to be exploring some of the classic albums over the years that we feel are timeless and really stand out in the solid albums that are kind of unarguably great. And today we're going to be introducing a very exciting album. It's a concept album which really transports you into this world, a study of people and growing up and life and death and everything in between. And of course, this is Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City.
Yeah, man. I think this is a good album to start with because, as you say, it's a concept album and the artistic approach with it leaves a lot to the imagination. And I think that's where we can really sink our teeth into it and talk about his story through it, growing up in Compton, the struggles, triumphs, and just the kind of cinematic storytelling of the album itself. It's definitely worthy of recognition. So,
Absolutely.
sit back. Let's get into it.
Rambles N Records.
Okay. So, let's dive right in then, mate. We've got quite... I feel pressure. Do you feel pressure to kind of... Because this album's so sick, I feel like we've really got to do it justice here. But ultimately, what this is we're just going to talk about what we love about it. We're not going to dissect every last little thing, you know?
Yeah.
We've just been basically listening to it all week, and we kind of want to go through the journey of Kendrick Lamar's early rise to fame, how he then got signed, his life up until that point a little bit. Then we're going to go into the actual concept and the story behind the album itself, some standout tracks. So we're not going to go track by track. Hopefully this adds some value to you to check out the album afterwards in its entirety again, if it has been some time that you've, took, because to be honest, it'd been a while since I'd listened to it. What about you?
No, exactly, absolutely. And there is so much to it, like so many layers to it. Like it's a great album on its own without knowing half the stuff about it. And then, when you kind of dive a bit deeper and you discover the other aspects of it as well,
Yeah.
just enriching experience. Like there's just so much to it. Like
didn't really stop to understand like the actual short film element to it, that he kind of puts this concept through the album. And once you do that, you just, it's a whole new layer to appreciate.
And it makes it like so repeatable as well.
Yeah.
Like when you actually pick up the story and then you go back and then you're following the story again. And it is like watching a good film.
Yeah, like one of your favourite films over and over again.
Yeah,
spotting those little things that you didn't notice before. And the fact that it's not necessarily in chronological order. I think you miss out things still when you listen to it that you then pick back up.
Pick up later, yeah.
And that's what keeps it fresh, yeah. So if we do like a very quick going back, upbringing, Kendrick Lamar was born in Chicago, but he was raised in Compton. I read that was because his parents wanted to take him away from the rise of gang culture. So they moved to Compton.
That's an interesting choice.
I'd say...
Has its reputation, right?
Has a reputation. I
guess it depends on your means as well. Like
that's it. From there, he was raised in Compton, California. He then experienced sort of firsthand the struggles in a city life. Then he was influenced by hip-hop artists like Tupac and Dr. Dre. And then he realised he wanted to be a rapper. Released his first mixtape age 16 under the name M.A.A.d initially. And then he brought out an independent album before he got signed to Aftermath and Interscope. And that was called Section 80. So that was released in 2011, just before the release of Good Kid, Mad City.
I just wanted to add quickly before you mention that. But I'd heard some speculation that he actually released that after he got signed, but he released it independently. Like the paperwork had been done, but he kind of just wanted to do that on his own before.
Yeah, I seen something like there's speculation that he was signed before, and there was speculation that he was signed after.
But I'm sure he was because he was doing mixtapes and stuff before that even. So
yeah, exactly.
He would have had opportunities to get noticed.
So he's releasing stuff, bringing mixtapes out. I think around that time as well, mixtape culture and kind of bringing out mixtapes was quite popular. I remember probably around the years of like 2008 to 2012, I was really into like American hip hop. And what was cool with it is around that time, before we had streaming services, before it got like properly up and running, it was LimeWire and torrents and like, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But what was cool about hip hop is that there was websites that you could go on and sort of legally download these mixtapes that these rappers are bringing out.
Okay.
They were bringing out like albums, but they were also bringing out mixtapes. And the mixtapes was just, sometimes the mixtapes were bigger than the albums. You know, they had these real underground followings where you could really find some great music. So I remember enjoying that. But
Nice.
Kendrick Lamar, I didn't actually check out. You know, by that time, I think I was getting more into like rock music and fell out of love with it, I guess, for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But Kendrick did that. He released some mixtapes. And then he released his first album, Section 80. It was released in 2011. And they signed to Aftermath Entertainment, Dr. Dre, Interscope Records. So quite a big deal. I seen something else during that as well, like what that was pretty cool. Did you see how he become like the torch bearer for the West Coast?
Yeah.
Did you see
So
that?
obviously, yeah. I mean, I guess being a West Coast rapper, and obviously they've kind of got the different generations. Yeah, they had that kind of like symbolic. I guess it was a
Being on
show or
stage,
something,
right?
and they all kind of. Who was there? Was it like Dre, Snoop Dogg, The Game? Was he there?
The Game, yeah, because I'm pretty sure The Game was the last one that got given it, and it is this kind of like,
Is it a
it's
literal
this thing, yeah. It's like, it's not,
Okay.
and I don't think there's an actual torch,
Little
like
torch? Yeah.
like the fucking Olympic torch that Snoop Dogg was holding. Like, it's just this. How do you say it?
A symbolic.
Rite of passage, you know.
Yeah.
And I think the West Coast scene of hip hop was maybe falling off a bit at that time. And they spotted Kendrick. They was like, yeah, you got to step up now and bring something to the table. And he
Do you
did.
know what I thought was quite interesting?
What?
The Game's album, the documentary.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember that coming out when I was at school. I wasn't like a hip hop head really at the time, so I don't know if I would have delved into it. But I think I saw that came out in like 2007, and Good Kid, Mad City obviously came out in 2012. So there was like 5 years between that. Whereas it's been 12 years since Good Kid, Mad City came out. So there's been more time between now and when Good Kid, Mad City came out than there was between the games, the documentary, and this.
That makes me feel so old, because that feels like, oh man, that feels so long ago. The documentary, I remember that album. Well, I did, when I was doing my research, that's the album that got The Game this torch of the West Coast.
Right.
And
yeah.
now,
and it was only 5 years later, and like that feels like nothing now as like a 30-year-old man. But like at the time, that's a whole school career.
Rambles N Records.
because I wanted to get a little bit of like a like what was going on in 2012 a little bit, right? Obviously, you had the London Olympics. Everyone thought the world was ending. Do you remember that?
Oh, was that the Mayan calendar thing?
Yeah.
The end of the Mayan calendar.
Everyone's
Okay.
fucked. Oh shit, the end is nigh. And then, funny enough,
Still
we were
here.
all right. Yeah, still here, still knocking about. Windows 8 was released,
Oh, wow.
and iPhone 5 was the latest iPhone.
Oh,
That
shit.
just makes me feel so old, But yeah, man. So Kendrick, then once he got given that torch of the West Coast, he was like, "Hold my fucking beer," and he just went for it and produced Good Kid, Mad City, and the rest is history. But
That's the thing. He's regarded as one of the best rappers of all time, pretty much since then.
yeah, he is one of the few that like highlights gang culture, Compton, you know, being in the streets, whatever. But he does it in a way that's like a really emotional, creative piece of music.
Yeah. No, exactly. It feels like very introspective, and it's just the way it plays out through the album as well. You kind of go through the motions a little bit rather than it just being like preaching this idea like you are in those shoes and you witness it from the kind of first person perspective, and then you kind of come out the other side of it all.
He's doing the start, middle, and end of it all through a story that has a mixture of like fiction and non-fiction. It seems. I don't think it's all. I think there's a bit of smoke and mirrors with it. I think it's a conceptual piece. It's not all like factual. but that
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's this creative piece. But like a lot of other rap music, and I'm not an expert, but like when I hear it, it just feels like, look at me now, I made it. You know, I started from here and now I'm here, and I'm fucking now got the chain and the cars and everything else, and I'm fucking made it. But this is like, I'm going to tell you exactly how it all started and how I found my calling through like rap, and then finish with how it is now. You know, it's this coming of age story, isn't it? Just with the use of a few voicemails and just
Yeah, the
interesting kind
skits.
of
Yeah, yeah.
them skits. Yeah, like that is
They
painting a picture really well.
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, because there is literally characters, and throughout the whole piece, which kind of come up and have their roles in the.
Like even when you look at the cover art, so on the front, I like how it's structured as a short film, and that's
Yeah,
kind of worth pointing out. It's kind of like the short film element. You don't see that
yeah,
often being worded the way it is, and you don't hear it either. You hear what that's getting at. Really, it is kind of like, because even with concepts, they're not that clear. It's very rare that you get an album, especially a hip hop album, that is literally like a story. And in this case, like almost
and
a
it literally
film.
says it on the cover as
And
well.
it is a
Yeah.
film. It's an actual story.
And
Um,
the other beauty of it as well is that every single track like stands on its own, like beautifully. It doesn't depend on the other tracks for each track to be, like an amazing track.
yeah. I think there's definitely tracks that sort of stand out more than others, but ultimately, going to any of
Yeah.
those tracks, there's not one that really falls flat. Really, is there? I think there's, and we will go into it. I think there's ones that don't really fall into the concept as much, and there may be the ones that the record label said we need a hit. You know what I
Do you
mean?
reckon?
Yeah, I think "Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe" and even like "Poetic Justice," I just don't feel the story within it. I know the skits
Hmm.
are around it and stuff, and I know at the end of the first track, the dad says something like, "You're killing my vibe," and then it goes into "Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe." That's pretty cool, but yeah, I feel as if those songs were maybe injected into the album by the record label. That's just my opinion. And I've got something to back it up later on when we go into
Okay.
the standout
Fair
tracks and
enough.
all that sort of stuff. So,
Before we
but yeah.
get to the next bit, I just don't want to brush over the cover too fast because we already mentioned it, and I feel
Mm.
like the picture kind of adds an element to the narrative as well, and
Oh, yeah, man.
through the aspect of or influenced by the events of Kendrick Lamar's life, even if there might be some kind of fictional elements to it, but obviously this is a family photograph with his grandfather and two of his uncles, and then on the table you've got the 40-ounce bottle of booze and the baby bottle, and I think the
Together.
uncle's holding the gang sign. All of these elements,
It's a sign
and
of what's to come, isn't it?
yeah. The only one whose eyes aren't covered are
Yeah,
the
exactly. That's what I was going to
baby
say.
Kendrick, and it's like through the eyes of this good kid, I guess,
Yeah, his eyes
in
are
this crazy
innocent, and
city.
he'll grow up to like try and figure out the crazy world around him. But right
Yeah,
now, everything's just cool, and he doesn't understand any different. You can see the innocence in it, how he's a good kid, and the 40 ounce and the gang sign is the Mad City, and it's a really cool cover for that, man. And
yeah.
then obviously with the deluxe cover, you've got his mom's
The
van,
van, yeah,
the minivan, uh,
which is a key
which
prop in the story.
a key prop in the story, a very key, so a very reoccurring thing throughout the story, throughout the concept of the album. So I think that's nice
And
as
it's
well.
actually his mom's van as
It's
well.
actually his mom's van, and it's actually him
Yeah,
in the on the original cover, and that's what I mean. Like, yes, all right, we don't fully know what's true and what's not, but there's got to be a lot of truth to it. It
no,
seems like he's
exactly.
been maybe writing that album since he was a kid in his own head.
Yeah,
It just seems
yeah,
so
yeah.
well drawn out. Like he's just got signed and gone, I know exactly what I want to do.
Yeah,
Um,
I heard he did have plans for it, like before it came, like before he had the deal or whatever it was.
that I can
I
believe
haven't
that.
got a source to back it up, but I did hear something like that.
BillysHipHopSource.com. It's really
Trust
reliable.
me.
Trust me. The year that the story takes place is 2004. So putting that into context as well kind of gives you a bit more of an immersive feel, because it must have been before. when he was, younger.
In one of the tracks, he says he's 17,
Um,
and I think he was born in like 80 something.
yeah, that
I
checks
don't
out.
have the exact number. Yeah.
Boom. We're factual around here. Okay, we're all about them facts.
We know
Okay,
all the
we might
facts.
have to
That's why
use
we
a
need a
calculator.
calculator to guess
Yeah,
when
just-
Kendrick Lamar was born.
And that's simple math, man. Like I should have worked that out.
Rambles N Records.
Well, should we kind of give the synopsis of the story?
Yeah, man.
Right. Okay, so it starts off with Kendrick meeting this girl, Shireen,
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously he gets a bit infatuated with her. And then he's also like hanging out with his mates, and they're kind of like a bit of a bad influence on him, and they're getting drunk and high, and they rob a house. There's police chases.
Mhm.
At one point, Kendrick borrows his mom's car after hanging out with his mates to go and meet Shireen, but she's
Mhm.
like from a different neighborhood or whatever. And so there's some guys turn up to his car in hoods like, yo, what you doing here? And then
Yeah.
he gets a bit roughed up by them. So then his mates, they want to get revenge afterwards, I think, when they find out.
Yeah.
And they go try and spook the guys. He had a mate, Dave, who got shot and killed.
Dave, yeah.
So Dave gets shot and killed, and then, obviously they're mourning that friend's loss, and then they're going to get revenge again, but then a neighbor comes out, like an older woman, and is like, yo, like, don't do this. Basically, here's the Bible, and say this
You need
prayer
Jesus.
with me.
Yeah.
And then they kind of go on a better path, and I think he also mentions about, like, focusing on music and stuff after that point.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And then,
There's voicemails like that as well. His mom tries to keep him on the straight and narrow with that as well. There's a certain skit where it says to stick with the music or whatever. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Yeah, definitely. But there is the freestyle element at the start, which I think is cool because that's like the start of the story before shit hits the fan, where everything's just fun and just having fun with
and
it.
it's very, very adolescent, I guess, the content of that song as well. Talking
100%.
about, Dick being as big as the Eiffel Tower and
Yeah.
like fucking the world
It's
for
those
72
more
hours. And
ignorant lyrics, but done on purpose.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's done through the character or the eyes of, a teenager just hanging out with his mates.
Yeah. And again, once you know that, you're like, oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of Kendrick's songs sometimes have the chance to be taken out of context and misunderstood. But then when you get it, when you find out what it is, you're like, oh man, he's a smart guy.
Yeah. He meets up with a girl, or tries to, but he has, during, like, say, Shireen, aka Master Splinter's daughter's first track, you can tell through the lyrics that he's having this debate in his head whether he should or he shouldn't. It's almost like he knows that going out of Compton and it's got this danger element to it, but he is young and dumb, basically, and he's just thinking with his dick a little bit, you know, and he just wants to go see a girl and get laid, sort of thing. And then he learns the hard way from that. But then I love, man, the art of peer pressure in terms of the storytelling, because it's this day and night element. It's like a 2-part song, isn't it? And it's like him being with the homies and everything's cool and we're just fucking around and whatever. But then it's almost like the sun goes down, it goes really dark, doesn't it? And then, just kind of what they will get up to and do pushes the boundaries of what they know is really right and what they want to actually do, because they're trying to impress their friends, they're trying to keep a certain reputation, and you can get swayed into it. Socially, that can happen.
Yeah, no, it's a recurring theme as well on the album, I think. Another interesting one is swimming pools. Without listening to the lyrics, you might think it's a song about getting drunk.
Like a party track.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think it was the first single off the record. But it's actually about the peer pressure of your friends, like, encouraging you to get drunk, and how he doesn't really want to drink because it's, going to distract him from kind of being, like, as good as he might be.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
blows my mind a bit. And if you think that this would be like the first track, a lot of people on the global audience would have heard from him as well. Like, this was his introduction to the
world.
The wider world. So I thought that was an interesting thing to lead with.
Because that track came out before the album. So that track itself, I remember that track. That was the first introduction for me to Kendrick Lamar. Seeing him on TV, I remember seeing the video. It was released July 2012, hit number 17 in the Hot 100. And that created the hype for the release in
October 22nd,
2012, yeah. But the actual first single was The Recipe. with Dr. Dre in it, which is
Mhm.
also a really good song, but it didn't make the cut on the standard album.
Yeah.
It's in the deluxe edition. But yeah, I love that song as well. It's a really, really good track. Like you say, with Swimming Pools, probably between that and Money Trees, the biggest songs on the album. And that song in particular at the start, if you don't understand the concept or the story behind the album, and many people might still not because they haven't, looked into it like that, you would
Yeah.
perceive Swimming Pools as this kind of ignorant party song where you just get fucked up and that's it. I read somewhere else that it was something to do with, again, going back to the cover art and the 40-ounce bottle and next to the baby bottle and stuff like that. It was to do with him and his family and like always drinking and always being around alcohol. And, to get me a drink, you need to fill up a swimming pool sort of thing. And it's that thing where you can imagine maybe family members saying things like that. I'll outdrink you. It's that thing, isn't it? It's like, I can drink you under the table. And maybe it
No,
came from
exactly.
that.
I mean, I guess like from a personal level, this, is a song I always enjoyed, but then when I understood the real meaning behind it, then it meant a lot more. Coming from a house myself where there was a lot of alcohol influence, my journey isn't the same as Kendrick's at all by any means, but at some point discovering I didn't want to be drinking as much as maybe the people around me and kind of having that kind of thing, and then hearing this was, it resonated, I guess.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I get you. Much the same. It's probably more to an extreme degree, but I think actually, although his parents maybe did drink loads, and they were so close to that gang culture, I do actually think his parents were really good parents that like raised him the best they probably could with what they had. And that is what got him out of, where he was at. That's what is part of the reason what gained him that success, as well as obviously being naturally talented. But I think they paved the way for him. And I think this album kind of promotes that, the ideology of the importance of parents and the importance of upbringing and the importance of letting them go out and do that stuff, but also bring the van back, I'm gonna like give you a clip around the ear sort of thing. It's that thing like you can't force them to stay and you can't completely not give a shit about them, but you've got to teach them the good values of what it's like to live a fulfilling life. And I think his parents did that.
I think I remember in one of the skits his mom saying like, yo, where's the van? I've got to go and get the food stamps or whatever.
Food stamps, yeah.
And she's saying like, you've got school tomorrow. If you don't come back in time, you're not going to get through to the next grade.
Yeah. And yes, all right, his dad then comes through. Where's my fucking dominoes or something like that?
Yeah. And so I've seen a bit of speculation online about what he means by dominoes. I think it's pills. Right, so some people are saying it's pizza, which doesn't make sense when you hear the skits. And then the other thing is like the actual just playing dominoes.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking.
I noticed on one of the skits when he's like, I don't know, he's irritating the mom and she's saying, oh, he's not even on those dominoes now. Just like bring the car back.
He's not even tripping
saying
about
that, like, he's
those
not even
dominoes.
high.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like he's not even tripping on those dominoes no more. Like he's got over it. It's not even a big deal. Just bring the car back. Like he doesn't even care about the like actual dominoes. That's what I was getting. But yeah, no, I could see both sides.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But yeah, no, there could be. But yeah.
I love little bits of lore with like that with it. It's like, who knows?
Yeah,
I guess
everyone's kind of got their own
interpretation
of it.
Yeah, yeah. To me, it's like for some reason he robbed his dad's dominoes, like he can't get his own, to go and do a bit of gambling, like, and like those dominoes are like really special as well, like my special dominoes, bring them back. Like, but the pizza did come across my mind.
He just really wanted to play dominoes with Shireen.
Yeah, I really want. Yeah. I really want to link up and play dominoes with you. There's no sexual thing here. I know I'm saying it in my lyrics, but I'm just trying to be cool. I just really want to play dominoes with you.
Just love gambling.
Like, not even for money either.
Yeah. I just really like
rival
this game.
gang, whoopsie. I just want to play dominoes with my friend. Yeah, so no, probably drugs makes more sense. Pizza is definitely out, but it did cross my mind as well. Like, just bring back my pizza. Like that, that'd be quite funny as well. But yeah, I think the album concept is that. That is the story. He gets himself through loads of different twists and tales upon love and loss and betrayal and gang culture and what you had to do to survive, essentially, to a certain degree. But then through that, it's kind of like the coming of age success story of him in the end making a living from music and then celebrating Compton, it seems, because the culture of hip hop, especially in Compton, is what gave him the tools to become the artist that he is now. So in a way, if he didn't go through all the shit, he wouldn't be Kendrick Lamar, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? So I think
No,
that's why
exactly.
the last song, Compton, amply put, is kind of, again, I don't feel that's necessarily it's part of the concept, but it's like the victory lap song. It's like the
Yeah, I was gonna
kind
say
of,
it's like, like at the end of the movie where everyone, like, they've beat the bad guy, and
yeah,
everyone's like back in the village, and they're all wearing their best outfits, and they're kind of
yeah,
like singing the big final hurrah, kind of.
100%. It's the celebration song, celebrating now this new chapter. This dark story has come to an end, and now this is where Kendrick Lamar's sort of career starts in a way.
Rambles N Records.
Yeah, in terms of the chronological order, again, that's another thing that like people on Reddit are going crazy about, and I was seeing like people saying, "No, it's this, no, it's that," and ultimately, it's up to yourself. But I've got one here that kind of makes sense to me. Have you wrote down your one of what you thought it was?
Nah, because I was kind of, to me, it mostly makes sense in the order, apart from that it starts at the end and ends at the beginning.
The very last bit, he goes, "I'm taking the van out for 15 minutes," doesn't he? Like
Yeah,
at the
and the
end,
very beginning of the album, they're
is this
saying the
the
prayer.
prayer that they
Yeah,
say? Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Perfect.
Like,
I think, like,
yeah,
like Shireen,
yeah.
that,
Shireen goes a bit ahead of itself, I think.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Shireen is like track 5 for me. For me, it's
Okay.
Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, because again, and this is a nice little segue into this, Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe isn't a part of the story, in my opinion. Because, did you know Lady Gaga was originally meant to be
Yeah,
on the
I did
song?
see that in when I was doing my research.
Did you hear her cut of it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad that didn't happen, for one.
I didn't think it was too bad, but I didn't
Fair
sit down
enough.
and listen to it like.
I think what put me off it, right, is that I also seen there was supposed to be another track on the album called Party Nauseous, all in caps, one word. And I heard that as well. That was like a club track, and certainly not a track that should have tied in with the concept of the album. It was clear that it was a track
Okay.
that was trying to get into the album to get more sales. That's my opinion, right? The subject of that song was supposed to be his relationship with the industry and dealing with fame. Now, if it's a song dealing with the industry and dealing with fame, and the concept is before he gets famous, then
Hmm.
clearly that's not going to work. I've seen that there was particular reasons why it didn't end up on the album due to like time constraints and like scheduling or something. But ultimately, my opinion is that they probably scrapped Lady Gaga from appearing on Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe and this Party Nausea song because it steered away from the concept of the album, in my opinion. So that's where I sit with it.
Quickly
But
Googled "Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe," and the first Redditor response is the song is about Kendrick's relationship with the music industry. So it's almost like maybe this replaced that one.
and again, if that is true, the concept is a coming of age story of someone that ends up making it in the music industry. So that's why I feel like it doesn't belong in the concept.
Yeah.
But again, I could be completely wrong. And that is the beauty of a concept, really. It's still a good track, don't get me wrong. So I would say the first track is like backseat freestyle when they're doing the freestyling in the car. Then the art of peer pressure, because it starts to this kind of like debate of I'm with my friends, should I be doing this? Money trees, which talks about their motive behind the petty crime and all that sort of stuff. Then
Yep.
Shireen, then Poetic Justice, if it's going to be anywhere. But again, I've got my reservations. But Poetic Justice as well. It's got your boy Drake on it. It's got
Yeah.
his bestie on it.
His best mate. Yeah, of
His
course.
best mate. No, he had him as support on one of his tours before he got big or something.
Yeah, yeah. Supported him in the early days, and then appeared on his album, and then bent over for him this year.
But yeah, No, who'd have thought that after all these years have passed, 12 years, they're not so pally now. I don't think they were pally back then, to be fair.
It sounds
Um,
like things started closer to the end than now, and there has been digs, pretty much
Little
like,
digs along the way, yeah, 100%.
and just kind of escalated this year.
Yeah, got a bit too far. It
I
was
finally got around to watching the video for Not Like Us yesterday.
really good.
Kendrick just looks like he's having a good time.
The best time. I don't think I
No, he's
can't listen
literally
to it
like-
the same way now, though. It's too much now. The beat's too simple. It's like bam, 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 bam. Yeah, can't enjoy it.
Yeah,
now.
I mean, obviously it was like a quickly produced diss track. It's not as
yeah, exactly. It's
produced
like
or
deep,
sophisticated as
deep
like
and
his album
conceptual,
tracks.
like piece of
Yeah.
art. Like I think it's solidified his position as probably one of the best rappers of all time. I think it's the authenticity as well. Like Kendrick grew up in Compton.
Drake was obviously a much more kind of had commercially appealing kind of chart topper type, whereas Kendrick's the more critically acclaimed type. So like they're not even like they don't even need to try and compete for the same lane.
No,
So
they're
it was-
different. Yeah,
Yeah,
they are different.
but
yeah. And,
kind of fucked with the wrong guy.
They fucked with the wrong guy, man. Yeah, but 12 years ago, here they are. Poetic Justice. That song was in reference to a film called Poetic Justice. I don't think the actual song subject was about the film, but I think there was definitely some reference there because there was a film called Poetic Justice with Janet Jackson and Tupac in.
Yep.
Also, what leads me to think that there's a tie in with that is because the song samples a Janet Jackson song called Anytime, Anyplace.
Yep.
So,
And if I'm not mistaken, I think Janet Jackson's character in the movie was called Shireen.
wow. Billy with the bombshell. That was a Billy bombshell. Nice. That's sick.
Let me just fact
Yeah,
check that, 'cause-
please check BillyFactCheck.org.
Wait, hang on. I might have just been duped by Reddit because according to
You've been duped by
IMDb, the
Reddit
character
again.
was called Justice. Oh, yeah.
It was Tupac called Poetic, and they were just like, "Hey, what's up? What's your name? Poetic. Oh, what's your name? Justice. Want to be friends?" I wish that was
called
true.
Lucky. Jesus.
Actually, I believe she's called Sharon. Billy Bombshell. You should just do that now and again and just drop like things that just aren't true. Well, I'd like to believe that was true, but it seems like it's not. So, what are your highlight tracks? What are your like top three?
Top three. Okay, so I would say swimming pools, even though it might be like an obvious choice or like the hit, but like for reasons I mentioned earlier, and do just enjoy the jam.
Yeah, it's a good track.
Then it's difficult to pick a top three.
Do you think a lot of them balance in the middle of the same sort of score that you'd score them out of 10? Because I was finding that.
Yeah, like this. Yeah, like a lot of them solid. Like Backstreet Freestyle, Out of Peer Pressure. Even Poetic Justice, Sing About Me, I'm Down at First, Compton.
See, it depends on. I think there's two things to consider here, isn't there? Because it's either best like creatively and artistically within the concept of the album, and then there's ones that you just really, really enjoy, like the ones that you can just really move to and enjoy.
Yeah.
And within the concept of the album, mine probably Art of Peer Pressure, Shireen, and Sing About Me, I'm Dying First. They're like the most like dense kind of creative storytelling ones. And then the ones that are my favourite just to listen to, if I wasn't consuming the story as a whole, would be Backstreet Freestyle, Money Trees, and m.A.A.d. They're the ones that have like the most energy and just, I like those. But they're all good, man.
But that's the thing, there's just so many good tracks to pick from. I think any three would be like a valid response.
Yeah, man. So, in terms of what we're going to put on the playlist, that's going to be a tricky one, isn't it? We're just going to go ahead and put the whole album on the playlist.
I think let's try and settle on three. People can find the album.
Well, we both said Backstreet
Let's put
Freestyle.
the whole. Okay, yeah.
Backstreet Freestyle, because again, I think that's a good happy medium. It still tells the story, but it's a good song as well. We'll put Swimming Pools on because you like swimming pools.
The three that we both said was Backstreet Freestyle, Out of Peer Pressure, and Sing About Me.
True.
But then, are we
but
missing?
they were the
The emotional
artsy
ones.
yeah, the emotional ones. You know what? No, you're right though, because that is important. It's important. That's what we're trying to really explain, isn't it? On the just how important the album is in terms of the story. So
Yeah,
we're gonna go put Backstreet Freestyle, The Art of Peer Pressure, and Sing About Me and Donna first.
I think that's solid.
Um,
Yeah, it's tempting to put one of the hits in, but people will know them already. So.
Yeah, of course. And that's it as well. Like, we want to, in the future, we're going to be playing music and stuff and talking about albums and that. But with these albums, like, everybody knows this album. And if you want to check it out after this episode, please do. But ultimately, you've probably already heard this album. It's a little bit of a celebration of the album in a way, and just our take on what makes it so great. But we don't claim to be experts. And, you know, we hope that you've liked what we've provided, but ultimately, everything that should be said about the album's probably already been said, and we just want to highlight it as an album that really deserves the credit it's
received.
The real
joy is having the chance to delve into it yourselves, and hopefully this has just been a nice little taster.
Rambles N Records.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to doing more of these, and
yeah, I really enjoyed this.
If you gain some value from this, let us know. If there's something that is criminal that we've missed out, let us know. And Good Kid, M.A.A.d City is the first album to go in the vault.
Sick.
Yeah, so the album, it's a great biography of the story of Kendrick. And if you didn't know that it has that concept behind it, go back to the album, check it out. Just that extra layer of it makes it so good. And that's why it's one of the most influential albums of that decade. And we hope you agree. So, yeah, I think, man, I've said everything I want to say.
I feel like we've done a good job there. I'm quite pleased with what we covered.
Do you think we're like official like podcasters now? Do you think?
I think so.
No way. Well, do you think like we could get one of those YouTube play button award things?
Oh.
I think you need like a.
Lost my balance. YouTube.
What? Okay. Well, yeah. On that note, Gangnam Style came out around the same time.
Very important to mention that.
God, I'm so glad I managed to get that in before it ended. Jesus, imagine how embarrassing that would have been. Anyway,
Sai, hit us up.
Sai, hit us up. And I was thinking, like, we could find a funny lyric or a lyric that is, like, cool, but then say it in, like, an English accent and then, like, in a Partridge sort of way. And then it would just sort of set up the song that we was going to talk about. That's the only thing that I'm upset about not being able to do.
Okay, so you wanted to do Alan Partridge takes on Good Kid, M.A.A.d City?
Pretty much. Like whole song performances in the Partridge voice.
I mean, we can start a project on the side of this project. Our side project.
Yeah, another one.
The Alan Partridge project.
Good Kid, M.A.A.d Partridge. Good Partridge. Good Partridge. Aha.
M.A.A.d City.
M.A.A.d City. Oh, God, all right. Right, follow us on socials or don't. Like this video and comment or don't. Because it's your choice at the end of the day. It's your life. You do what you want.
Exactly.
If you've made it this far,
we love you.
We love you. And if not, then we love you. No, we can't.
Please come back.
Please come back. But see you later. See you next week.
See you next week. Thank you very much.
See you next week.
See ya.
See you next week. How about I see you next week?
If you can.
Hey, wise guy.
Yo.
See you next week.